Hey guys, welcome to CodeSmith. In this video, I'm going to explain how to find the minimum and maximum of an array by minimum number of comparisons. This problem is a part of an Excel sheet which contains 450 questions of data structures and algorithms. These questions are very good, so I will put the link of Excel sheet in the description so you can download it and start solving the questions. Alright, so let's see how to find the minimum and maximum of an array. I will explain the two methods. First is simple linear search and second is comparing in pairs. Now here in simple linear search what we will do is we'll assign the minimum and maximum as a first element of an array, and then we'll traverse the whole array and check if that element is lesser than minimum or the greater than maximum, and if that is true then we'll update the element. But we'll use a structure here because we want to give a function output as both minimum and maximum of an array. So here I will define a get min max function, and it will output both min and max as a structure S, and that's why we have to define a structure here. So this is the pseudocode of the for loop that I have already explained. And in this method we are making total 2 into n minus 1 number of comparisons, because these n minus 1 elements are being compared 2 times for checking whether it is greater than maximum or checking whether it is less than minimum. So let's try to code this method. First of all, I will define a structure here. So here I have called a function get min max, and this function will return a structure. So let's define this function. So now let's define a structure here in this function to store the min and max value. Let's give min and max as first element of an array. If the length of an array is exactly equal to 1, then we'll return this structure. Otherwise, we'll start a for loop from the second element of an array to the last element of an array. And we will return this structure. Now let's print this structure. Now let's try to run this. So for this input our program runs correctly. Now let's see the other method, that is comparing in pairs. What we'll do in comparing in pairs is we'll divide the array in pairs and we'll check which element is greater in the first pair, and we'll assign that as a global max and the other as a global minimum. And then after for each pair we will check which element is greater, and we'll check whether this greater element is greater than the global maximum and whether this less element is global than the minimum. Then we'll update our global max and minimum and we'll go further. After traversing the whole pairs, we'll be having minimum and maximum of an array. I will mention the steps here. The problem with this method is for an odd length of an array, we cannot start from the first pair. So we'll assign maximum and minimum as the first element, and then we'll start making the pairs and we'll check for each pairs. And in the odd size, we have to start checking for the pairs from the second element, but in the even size we have to start checking for the pairs from the third element. So that we have to take care of in the program. Now the total number of comparisons here are, for each pair we are checking with which element is greater, that is one comparison, and then we'll check this greater element is greater than the global, and if this less element is less than the global. So that total max 3 comparisons per pair, and we have total n minus 1 divided by 2 pairs, because this n minus 1 elements comprises of n minus 1 by 2 pairs. So we have total 3 into n minus 1 by 2 comparisons, which is less than the previous we are making 2 into n minus 1 comparisons. Here we are making 1.5 into n minus 1 comparisons. So this is slightly better than the previous algorithm. Now both algorithms will run on order of n, because we are making on order of n comparisons. Let's try to code this. So I will define a new function, get min max by pairs, and I have called it here. Now this will also return a structure. Now we'll check whether the size of an array is divisible by 2 or not. If that is true, then we'll check whether which element is greater in the first two elements. Now if a of 0 is greater, then we'll check if a of 0 is then we'll assign a of 0 as a global maximum, and we'll assign global minimum as the second element. For the else part, we'll do the exact opposite of that. Now here, if the length is even, then we will start checking of our pairs for the third element. So we'll define an integer I, will see starting from the 2, second index. If our length is not even, which means it is odd, then we'll assign global max and min as the first element, and we'll start searching from the second element, that is first index, and we'll search until I is less than n minus 1. Now we'll check which element is greater in the first pair. So if the array of I is greater than array of I plus 1, then we'll check whether array of I is greater than global max or not. If that, so we will update. If that, then we'll update our global max as array of I. And if array of I plus 1 is less than global minimum or not. Now in the else part, if array of I is less than or equal to array of I plus 1, then we'll check if I plus 1 is greater than global max or not. And we'll check if the array of I is less than global minimum or not. Now we have to increase our I by 2, because we are checking for the each pairs, and we will return the structure S. So let's try to run this code. So you can see these outputs are correct, minimum and maximum, so our program runs correctly. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, microphone check, make it a microphone check. Give it a microphone, I make it a microphone dead.